This is Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Television. My name is Joshua Ishal. Welcome you to yet another fresh episode of the program Back to Farm. Back to Farm is a program that tells you what you need to know so we can actually go back to farm, because our tables will run out of food if Nigerians do not take up the whole, or rather the mechanized form of farming, to make sure we are able to sustain ourselves by producing what we eat and by eating what we produce. Today on the program, we'll be explaining Nigerian palm oil sector. Nigeria happens to be the major manufacturer of palm oil in the world. And of course, history has it that in fact Venezuela actually got its seedlings from Nigeria. And today we'll be looking at everything you need to know about palm oil. Stay tuned. Palm oil is of strategic importance to Nigeria, as it is used in the production of more than half of the products sold in supermarkets globally. Nigeria is the largest consumer of palm oil in Africa, with a population of 200 million people. The nation consumed approximately 3 million metric tons of fat and oil in 2019, with palm oil accounting for 44.7% of 1.34 million metric ton. In the same period, production stood at 1.2 billion metric tons, resulting to supply shortfall of 0.32 million tons, including possible impact of palm oil export. In the early 1960s, Nigeria was the world's largest palm oil producer with global market share of 43%. Today, it is the fifth largest producer with less than 2% of total global market production of 74.8 million metric tons in 1966. Metric tons. In 1966, Malaysia and Indonesia surpassed Nigeria as the world's largest palm oil producers. Since then, both countries combined produce approximately 80% of total global output, with Indonesia alone responsible for over half, 53.3% of the global output. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, if Nigeria had maintained its market dominance in the palm oil industry, the country would have been earning approximately $20 billion annually from cultivation and processing of palm oil as at today. Palm oil is of strategic importance as it is used in the production of more than half of the products sold in supermarkets globally. Nigeria is the largest consumer of palm oil in Africa, with a population. To meet the supply gap of palm oil, the country had to depend on importation after years. However, in 2015, the CVM published list of 41 items including palm oil as eligible for forex through the Nigerian interbank markets to encourage local production and manage foreign reserves. Also, duty charge of 35% was applied on crude palm oil. While this seems good government efforts as promoting local production of crude palm oil, it has impacted on local manufacturers of refined vegetable oil, and these include increase in cost of local production of refined vegetable oil, non-availability of enough palm oil for further refining by local manufacturers, thereby resulting to the idle capacity utilization and non-competition in the price of local production refined vegetable oil due to the activities of smugglers of refined vegetable oil into the country. There is scope for thorough review of the entire value chain of palm oil with the view to guaranteeing the survival of local manufacturers of refined vegetable oil, as well as prepare the country to take advantage of access to larger African markets available through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Palm oil is not strange to West Africa, and Nigeria especially. In Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone are major producers of both palm oil and palm kernel oil. In 1965, the World Bank injected nearly $200 billion into the 45 project in Southeast Asia, Africa, and part of Latin America to support the growth of the palm oil industry. Indonesia received $618.9 million, which was the highest funding. Nigeria received the second highest funding of $451.5 million, followed by Malaysia with $383.5 million in project funding. From 1975 to 2009, Nigeria remained the second largest recipient of funding from the Apex Bank for palm oil investment, with 6 projects. However, only 1 project survived, while the rest went bankrupt. Today, Nigeria is the 5th largest palm oil producing country, with 1.4% or 1.3 million metric tons of the world total output, according to the United States Department. From being one of the leading exporters of crude oil in the 1960s, Nigeria is now a net importer in a bid to close the supply gap and encourage local investment. The federal government included refined palm oil as one of the items that importers are restricted from accessing foreign exchange at the interbank market. Also, an increased duty charge of the 35% of CPO was introduced. In addition to the above policy measures, the CBN launched a series of intervention schemes which include the Anchor Borrowers Program. The Nigerian palm oil industry is very fragmented and dominated by numerous small-scale farm holders, which account for over 80% of local production, while established plantations account for less than 20% of the total market. However, the 2 largest producers, Okomu and Pisco, individually hold a sizable market share. in terms of value due to their combined capacity compared to small-scale farmers. Local farmers produce roughly 80% of the total production, while using approximately 1.6 million hectares of land. The dominance of small farm holders in the palm oil market have resulted in the low output compared to the country's production potential. This is because local farmers' manual harvesting techniques are outdated, which often results in significant wastages during the harvesting process. In Nigeria, lack of investment in palm oil extraction technology and technical incompetence, inadequate training have resulted in poor management of palm oil plantation. Over the years, causing some of them to cease operation. Despite these, there has been renewed interest in Nigerian palm oil markets with the entrance of major food manufacturers via backup integration strategies into the upstream and midstream segment. For instance, in 2018, PZ Winner venture between PZ Cussons International UK and Wilmar International Singapore invested over $650 million in palm oil plantations and processing facilities. The company also planted almost 26,500 hectares of palm oil in Cross River State and installed a 65-ton per hour palm oil mill, which translates to estimated annual capacity of 40,000 tons. Also in 2019, Duffy Primary Manufacturers of Noodles and Oil finalized acquisition of 17,952 hectares of land in Edo State and a 1,040-hectare palm oil stream in Abia State. Designed to provide single-digit interest rates on loans to farmers through the Deposit Money Bank and other participating financial institutions for the palm oil sector, the interest on the loan facility is at 9% per annum. In 2019, the federal government of Nigeria also mandated CBN to support corporate bodies and individuals that engage in production of 10 specified agricultural commodities. Palm oil was listed among them. Palm oil exports were somewhat depressed in 2018 due to glut in oil production and supply. The Gulf streams from improved weather conditions, significant oil extraction from high-yield seedlings in Indonesia and Malaysia, and the decision by India, the second-largest consumer, to raise import tariffs on palm oil to the highest level in over a decade. Outlook for palm oil prices remains dampened in 2019, with World Bank forecasting downtrend and the commodity price from $639 metric ton in 2018 to 625 metric ton US price are expected to pick up subsequently in 2020, and it is anticipated to continue to grow and reach 900 million and $900 by 2026. In Nigeria, illegal cross-border inflows of CPO and other byproducts have resulted in drop in prices without vast impact on local producers and refineries. In 2017, it is reported that over 400,000 metric tons, valued at about $300.4 million was smuggled into the country via neighboring borders, thereby leading to loss in the revenues to the government in the form of important duties. In addition, producers of refined palm oil are not allowed to access foreign exchange through Central Bank of Nigeria, official window, or importance of CPO. All these factors have negatively impacted production activities through increased cost of production as well as idle capacity arising from stock out of CPO for production. Some instance sustainability issues and the Nigerian palm oil industry, low quality seedlings, high cost of rental charges on land and plantation, high interest rates on borrowed funds due to the long-term capital outlay for investment in plantation, notwithstanding the 9% interest rates offered by the CBN, farm management lack of expertise, farming techniques, crude and outdated farming techniques, poor inadequate storage facilities, and poor harvest losses, road transportation issue due to poor road network, infrastructure upstream, raw materials, low quality input from the upstream segment, epileptic power supply from the national grid, dilapidated infrastructure, poor and network, inadequate funding, improper processing facilities, substandard meals, midstream, smuggling, counterfeit product, downstream. Conclusion: there is need for development and execution of a comprehensive palm oil policy that will drive the growth and development of the sector going forward. In addition, there is need for significant investment in research and development activities. According to industry stakeholders, there is underfunding of research by the government in the agricultural sector, which is the largest contributor to the country's GDP and a strategic component of the ERGDP. 2019, PricewaterhouseCoopers Limited. All right, reserve. Well, on that note, we come to the end of the program Back to Farm, where today we talked about extracting the Nigerian palm oil sector, the potentials, the gold lying in the palm oil sector. So, if I were you, as a typical youth, you need to understand that you can actually plant some of these hybrid palm oils anywhere around Nigeria, and of course, in no time, you will be smiling tip the bank. Until some other time, have yourself a wonderful time watching us. Bye for now.